everybody, Raina here with the next episode of Book Banter. Thank you all for joining me. This evening, I will be speaking with Marie McCurdy. Her most recent book, The Wolf Queen, is so delicious. It's full of so much history, a wonderful story, this historical novel. I cannot wait to talk to her about it. She is originally from Florida. As you know, I am also originally from Florida. She lived in California and everywhere in between and is now here in New Orleans with us. In 2005, 2009, sorry about that. She joined the Marines as a combat correspondent, which I'm fascinated and need to know how that led to this amazing book and all of the little ones she's had in between. So without further ado, let me get over here and welcome Marie to Book Banter. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you about this book. And you have how many other books? You have other books that I didn't even know existed?
No, I was a journalist, so I've been published a lot on that side. And I have one other book, okay, but it is currently hiding on a shelf. It needs so much work. It needs a whole other book written to go with it. Like it needs that kind of work. So it exists.
Will it be 2 books? It's going to be, I was speaking to someone not too long ago and they originally wrote it as 1 and now it's being published as like 2. So, all right. Well, yeah. I'm excited for this, The Wolf Queen. I do want to know though, like you were clearly drawn to journalism, to writing, right? And got into the Marines and then that was your job, which is just fascinating to like in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
But then how did you make why did you make this transition? Because there's some military stuff going on in here, but totally different than what we're doing today.
Well, I mean, first of all, I got injured. So I had to get out. But I also, my job as a combat correspondent, it was sort of a blend of journalist and propaganda minister. And I spent about a year being an actual journalist with Stars and Stripes, which is an international newspaper that covers, American stuff all around the world. And I just got so burnt out on the journalism side. And I wasn't writing at all for a long time. But, eventually those stories just came to me. And I couldn't not write them. And I found that writing fiction was just so much more who I am than the journalism side. So
when you got into journalism, though, that part of it, were you really like drawn to the writing, or was that something that just sort of like, because I know sometimes in military you get sort of put somewhere, like they're pushing you in a direction. So is that something that you really wanted to do, or something that you were just sort of put in and then thrived?
I chose the job. I had a friend of mine who was a recruiter at the time that I decided I wanted to enlist. And he said, this is the job that you're going to want to do. Just trust me. This is the job. And I've always been a writer. Ever since I was a little kid, I was always writing stories. And when I learned more about the job and thought of it as, storytelling, ultimately, because that's what all journalism is, whether it's military, civilian, whatever, you're telling a story. That part was what really drew me and made me excited to get up in the morning and go to work and cover all these different aspects and experience so much more of the Marine Corps and the world at large than I would have if I just had taken, a more boxed in job.
Yeah, for sure. Like just being able to really talk to people and they like hear what they're saying, whatever it is, whatever we're talking about, what your experience shopping at Target or, a military deployment, like what was happening, like it's really special to be able to actually like sit down and have someone listened to you
Mm-hmm.
and you're there to tell their story.
Yeah.
When you started working on Wolf Queen, though, do you feel like you were telling Thusnelda's story?
Yes, it was all from the jump. It was all about telling her story because when I saw it on like a History Channel special, and after some research turned out to be kind of a bad History Channel special. But what they hinted at some stuff with her that I thought was really interesting. So I got online. I wanted to learn more, and come to find out, like, historically, only one historian wrote about her, and he wrote like 3 to 4 lines total.
Wow.
Anything else? There's hints that Tacitus wrote more, but that particular volume is lost.
Of
So
course, that's the one that we can't find.
Yeah, of course, that's something we can't find. And so there's just nothing about her. He was the only quasi contemporary by like 100 years historian to even mention her. And then, of course, like modern times, she just isn't really a feature. When she is a feature, it's very much as like the wife.
Yeah.
The wife. And I just thought what is written about her historically it was so intriguing to me. And it just suggested that she had this big story. And I thought somebody should tell it. And by God, it'll have to be me.
Well, I love that in a lot of books, historical novels that I read, some of the parts that are not the least believable, but the ones where I'm like, is that real? And then you Google it and it is real. That I love it. I love that. And typically, like in historical novels that I've read in the past, a lot of them, some events are real, but then the people in it living through it are the ones that aren't real.
Mm-hmm.
But in your book, it's a little of both. But yes, you're following this real person. And tell me about the research. Like, how did you?
Oh God, I have a whole bookcase just of the books, and then a binder of all the academic journals that I printed out, because not only is there very, very little, obviously, about Thusnelda herself, but pre-Roman Germans didn't have a written language. Most of what they used was like biological material. They didn't leave behind a lot of artifacts.
What do you do with that?
What did he do? So it was a lot of reading the Roman sources with huge grains of salt, because Roman sources, as good as they are, they have their own biases. And there are certain, like Tacitus specifically, there's certain little storytelling things that he does in his histories that are it's the same little story, the same little scene at different historical events that he's writing about. So you have to go like, how real is this? How accurate is this? And it just became a matter of trying to create a world and characters who are consistent and believable. That could these people have existed? Could they have lived this particular way? And that's what I was going for. It was just, how can I make something that is a culture that is believably rebellious, and unique, something that's separate from the Gauls, something that's separate from, the Britons and the Celts, that is their own people, and Thusnelda as her own woman who's believable in a time and place without having any real solid history behind it.
Right. When it sounds like you'd have to do like all this peripheral history, like all of this research about what someone at this time period might act like, might talk like, and then what a woman would be doing at that time period in this area, and then just sort of like use all of this to create.
Just taking all these different little ingredients, what we know of the Gauls, for instance, what we know of the Britons, what we know of the early Vikings, there's so much overlap with, what the Romans wrote about the early Germans and what we do know about the early Vikings, that the Vikings provided a lot of inspiration for this, because these are the people who went north and became Vikings. Like,
right. So you're like backing up their history, like reading this, or and then going, well, where did those people come from?
Yeah, exactly. We're like,
like, how did we get here?
How did we get to this point?
Exactly. Okay, so we have a couple of questions. Linda's asking, when and how do you find the time to write about your that face says no.
I have to, first of all, I have to listen to my own body. And when I have the time and the energy and the spirit and the will, then I'm here. I'm sitting at my computer. I'm working. I also, I found that it's extremely effective for me to have almost maximum distractions, and the people just think this is bizarre. And somebody always says something, taking my laptop to bars that have Wi-Fi and writing and researching and making notes, for whatever reason, that just like my brain can suddenly focus in a way it kind of can't in the quiet of my own place. But it's just timing. I'm lucky. My job gives me a lot of freedom. And I'm lucky that, my job is not incredibly high stress. So I'm not, coming home exhausted every single day. So I probably have more time and energy than somebody who has a higher stress job, who's coming home to, a spouse and kids and all kinds of chaos. So I think it just depends on the person.
Well, and managing, like you said, going to knowing your own rhythms and what works for you. Like, I find working in a coffee shop, like I do really well working in a coffee shop as well, but for different reasons than what you mentioned. Like, I don't necessarily love the background noise, but when I'm at home, I will find 50 other things to do.
Yep.
I will sit down to work, and then I'll get up to use the restroom, and then I'll change the laundry, and then I'll notice, this towel on the floor, and then I'll come back. Right. And I get so much less done. If I take my laptop to a coffee shop, I will work straight for that. Like, I got nothing else to do after I get my coffee.
There's a distraction, but it's not a distraction that's going to get you out of your chair.
Right. Worst case scenario, I look over and I look back. Like, that's the biggest distraction there is.
Yeah. So just to further answer Linda's question. So this book right here, DIY MFA, had a piece of advice that I think is just like phenomenal. And it was that you need to create your own writing ritual. So like for me, my writing ritual became putting all my stuff in my laptop backpack and scurrying off to a bar and getting a beer and, some finger food and getting all this work done. That ritual works for me, but it may not be. And the book recommends something as simple as every time you sit down at your laptop, you light a candle. Something that just trains your brain to think like, okay, now it's writing time.
Well, that makes sense. I put a link to that book in the comments, because when you held it up, I was like, oh, need to check that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, and all the tabs, you have all these tabs. There's clearly tons of great information.
My method right here.
I love it. So Shake and Bake, also good name.
It's a good name.
Loves the book and wants to know if there's a sequel in the works.
There is. I have gotten started on it. I'm still in the plotting stage. I mean, it's more an issue of getting the plot organized. I know exactly what needs to happen because a lot of it is historical. I just need to put it into a form where I can just start writing through.
Do you are you a big plotter? Well, with history, I guess you kind of in a lot of ways have to be.
Yeah.
But well, at least you have to know where, like, the big points of where you're going.
Yeah. You have to know, like when I wrote the first draft of this book, and this is why I'm trying to plot out the second one. I was purely flying by the seat of my pants. Like I knew like two big things that absolutely had to happen. And that was it. And for this next book, the timeline is a little more important, and there's a lot more moving pieces within the timeline. So if I were to just like go in blind, it could be 10 years before you see a sequel.
No, were those 2 points, were those like historical points you knew?
Yes. Those are like of the few what we would consider facts that we know about Thusnelda and Arminius. Those were 2 points that are confirmed across multiple historical sources, and 2 facts that I wanted to include.
Okay. All right. So that in the second one though, is that the historical facts that you know like a bunch of stuff, or now are you deep? Yes. Now that you're in their story, you have those points as well?
Well, see, especially anybody who's familiar with the history, and I've had a few who read it and said that they got to the end and they were like, wait, what? It ends here. No, it doesn't end here. This is not where the story ends. There's a lot more to their historical story.
Okay.
And it's weird being like, oh, spoiler alert for something that happened in the 1st century. So without spoiling it, you can get on, if you are so like you can't wait another second to find out what happens to these people, if you get on Google, I just want to say how the real story ends and how my story ends are going to be 2 different things. So
it's still not going to spoiler.
Don't just throw out your copy too soon.
Well, that is though, anytime a fictional book inspires someone to look up facts, you know, whether that's historical or anything, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan because you get the emotional learning, right? So fiction, it makes you more empathetic. So you get the empathetic aspect of it, but then also like you can Google it and learn things about the history. Like there's this evidently not great History Channel documentary, but like you can even start there and be like inspired and go like, okay, well, I need to know more about these parts of history. And honestly, just like at least for me growing up, like Germanic history, and my dad was German, like my dad's parents literally were German, but even that, like we don't learn about that. We sort of you go Viking, Roman, Greek, right? You do that, but you don't really learn about this middle area and this middle time.
There's some real controversial reasons for that. That have to do with the rise of German nationalism in the late 19th century.
Okay. Wow. It's all that I can see that connecting, but still. Why do I not know any of this history? Well, and it's also like you're saying, it's kind of difficult to find and to find good, like reputable, even the History Channel or whatever is not pulling it off really well.
Yeah, I will say this: the show that I watched is very well done. It's engaging, it's beautifully shot, and it does capture your interest enough that you're going to get on Google and go, some of this they were just making up.
Well, and so it's doing kind of the same thing. It worked enough for you to go, I wonder more about this, and then you were off to the races on your own. That's great. So Gwen has another question. How emotionally involved do you become with the characters?
I to a certain degree, you're emotionally involved with all of them, because every character you write, and I don't know if every writer even realizes it, but every character you write is some part of you. Like, because you're tapping into your own emotions and your own experiences in order to put it on the page. I love my Thusnelda, and I love my Arminius, even though he's very problematic. Uh, I love them. I very rarely been like, I don't know, super upset or giddy with the characters. And there's it's all part of like this thing that I created. So there's definitely the emotional investment there.
Yeah. Do you think spending time as a journalist either kept you farther away? Because as a journalist, you're supposed to like remain, you're just telling the story. But there's nothing really holding you back from that. You could become incredibly invested in these character stories. How did that affect this, you think?
I never had any real issues when I was doing the journalism thing, getting either too invested or not invested enough, because I think you have to have a certain amount of investment because you have to, give a crap
Right
about what you're writing about and who you're writing about. And you have, like, if you're only listening with half an ear because you're just closed off to what's happening, like, you're not then going to be able to communicate the story. I've covered some stories that just sometimes I think about, and it just like guts me to think about. And I've even sometimes had just old war veterans sit down and just start talking at me because I'm a trained listener. And they sense that. And so they'll just start coming and talking at me and tell me things that just haunt my dreams.
You're like, thanks. Yeah.
I provided some kind of catharsis for you. So yeah, I think you can only be so far removed as a writer.
Yeah. Of any kind.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so I asked you before we went live about this, and I need to ask for everyone else, because I'm sure that anyone who's watching this now is like, what is that? What is that? Background? Is that what is that? So tell us about your red and white.
This is a shield. It's done after the actual Germanic style, as again described by Rome. And this hexagonal style. They were super into geometric patterns, and I had this piece actually drawn. I commissioned an artist, and you'll see that artwork in the book and on the book.
Is that who did the maps?
No, the map was an actual cartographer, because I'm extra.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to hold up the map while we're doing that, because you had that commissioned as well.
Yeah, I had this commissioned as well. I wanted something that was sort of, because she's the wolf queen, I wanted some kind of tribal artwork that wasn't derivative of really anything else. So I had that commissioned, and I mentioned it's something that is brought up in the book, that she's the tribe's sigil is on their shield. So I just wanted to have her shield. At some point, when I get the money, I'm gonna commission a sword too.
Nice. That'd be really cool, actually.
Yeah.
Just like having it. Just having
it.
Yeah. Well, and two, you like had a part in like inventing this whole thing, and now not only is it in a book form where other people can imagine it, you're like bringing to life these other parts of it. And
yeah, my inner cosplayer just can't resist. And I'm still working on her actual costume. I've got some material to make like a sleeveless tunic style top, and I've got this cool leather belt. Yeah, it's my inner cosplayer can't resist.
Well, I can't wait to see this. I will follow you on Instagram, everyone. Follow her on Instagram, because I that is where I imagine these photos will appear one day when the whole thing comes together.
Oh, they'll be there.
So where would you take that? Would you take it to like a Renaissance festival, or would you take it to like?
Yeah, I mean, I have these big plans
I love it.
Eventually, especially once I get the sequel done, I have more than one book to offer, of doing like tables and selling at Renaissance festivals. Let's go at Highland festivals, at Oktoberfest. Texas has a real big like Viking festival that I think this would do well at, and of course like book fairs, book festivals and things. Right. So that's where.
Yeah. Okay. So I can speak for book festivals. I've been to Renaissance festivals. I've been to some Comic-Con things, but I can speak for book festivals for sure. Full Thusnelda regalia, sword, shield. Yes, people will respond to this. They will be coming over because if you look down the row and
nobody else do
for no one else is doing this, and that is a good thing for you.
That's how I roll. I can't go to a festival not in costume.
You have to. You have to. Yeah. Oh, I said Comic-Cons. I think Comic-Cons, so. I think Comic-Cons. When
they have like an artist alley, they usually have like independent publishers and booksellers and stuff. So that's definitely. I'm a huge Comic-Con nerd, so trust me, I'm already thinking it.
I feel like I've made a list of the ones. Yes, that's where I'll be. I love it. Have you ever been to any of the places in the book?
I have.
Wow, I did not know the answer to that question, so I'm very excited that you have been here.
Actually, I'm sad it had to wait until almost like the book was basically done, but I was able to do a trip to Germany in May. And unfortunately I got really sick.
Oh no.
So my trip got kind of curtailed by a hospital stay, but I was able to go. Actually, there's a museum where the alleged battle site was found. I think it was found in the 90s, and they've been just slowly excavating all these artifacts that show that, some real heavy fighting went down in this one spot that geographically matches what it was described by historians. It's a place called Calcrease Hill, which interestingly, and I mentioned this in my author's note, is not actually in the Teutoburg Wald, which is what all the Roman historians were saying it was in the Teutoburg, and the Teutoburg, well, it's not actually in the Teutoburg, but Calcrease Hill, and it's called the Varus Battle Museum. I don't know if that the Varusschlacht, and they have all these artifacts on display. They have it's really amazing. They have this walk through where you go through the forest, and so what it felt like to be like a Roman legionary.
Wow.
Walking through these creepy woods, and they show like what the terrain was like. It's a really well done museum, and they are very, very, very big on it's just the facts, that this is what we have found, period. We're not going to draw any conclusions. We're not going to make any like logical leaps here. This is what we found. So I was able to go do that, which was very cool.
I'm pretty sure the link that I just put in the comments is the place you're talking about. Okay.
Yes.
I was like, this is real close. And this is going to get you very close. That is amazing.
Yeah. And I got to go. I also went to the German town of Trier, which is known for having what's called the Black Gates. So it's got a whole ton of ancient Roman ruins. It's got like the ruins of a bathhouse, just all kinds. But the Black Gates are these ginormous structures that roam just the gates of the city, and you can go up in them. They show you the view. Like they're just really spectacular. And I got to go see they have actually a bridge, and the bases of the bridge were put there by Rome.
Wow.
And this bridge is still in use today.
Hard to wrap your head around that. Like coming from the US, relatively very young. And the majority of the US does not have a lot of historical stuff either. That's one of the reasons I love about New Orleans is we have all of this history, but then to just try and wrap your head around like Roman things are only in textbooks. Like in my mind. They're only way
There
back
are people in a town in Germany using a bridge every single day that parts of that bridge were put there by Rome. Like,
What?
yeah.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it really is. And then to just like think, and it's nothing for them.
Yeah,
Obviously, this is
just
just
every
how they
day.
work. Like it's
Yeah,
not even a thing.
yeah. The history over, on the other side of the pond is a whole different ball game. You have to go like to New Mexico here to see history like that, and the sites are limited, and we certainly don't live it there because we would destroy it.
Right. Yeah, we would we protect it and we stay back. Yeah.
That's my dad.
He's handling all of this, and by this I mean I assume he means this event.
I think two of them are sleeping in my bedroom, and one is probably plotting how to destroy the house.
Right, because you're stuck right here for like
I'm stuck
half an
right
hour.
here. I'm surprised she hasn't been back and forth more often.
Well, the dog that I said wasn't going to come hang out with us actually was up here earlier, chewing on a rubber dog toy. So if you guys were hearing some sort of squeaky thing in the background for a minute there, that's what that was. Maybe about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I did not hear it. So,
of course she did. Sometimes we have a band go by here because I live close to a school.
Oh, okay.
And you never know when.
Actually, we've been having like some marching bands have come through in recent weeks. And I don't think I live that close to a school.
Oh, well, they go around like about 4 blocks from the school. So, and I live right here, so I know they're leaving, like,
yeah,
I know they're doing it, but maybe somebody 2 or 3 blocks away wouldn't necessarily be able to see that. So I don't know, but they don't seem to have a schedule that I have been able to plot out. Sometimes it's after school. So it's only Monday through Friday, but sometimes it's a Tuesday. Sometimes it's a Thursday.
It's some kind of I don't know, pep rally practice. It's just cool.
Right? Yeah, you're like, oh, I like it, but I don't know what.
Oh, drumline, cool.
Yeah, they are practicing for Mardi Gras. They don't. It starts after winter break when they come back in January.
Yeah. The other day, I heard some like real loud music bumping out of my apartment window, and I looked, and it was a bunch of people in motorized bathtubs.
Yes. Okay. Oh, what are they called? I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah, it is a specific crew.
Yeah. Yep. They're specific crew. So I'm in the Marigny. Are you?
I'm uptown.
Okay. Well, anywhere in like along the routes at all, I feel like are just fair game for any of that.
I'm just right outside the box.
Yeah. Okay. Outside the box. That's a safe place to be.
Yeah. By like a couple blocks.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
All you need are those 2 blocks. Yeah. So I don't know where everybody's watching from, but inside the box means the parade goes all the way around you and you potentially can't get in or out for hours on parade days. Outside the box, you're not stuck. Sometimes it can still be hard to get in and out.
Yeah.
You do have the option to get in and out. When you're in the box, you're like pretty much
you're either in there for the duration or you're out for the duration, and there's no
West Bank. Yeah, see, you're safe. You know about the box, but it's over there. So you don't need to worry about the box. I spent a bunch of time actually in Gretna recently. We went to Lunafet. Did you? I never been, but they have art projections and they project them in Gretna. They do it on City Hall. Yes. Wave at the box. Yeah. As you go by quickly to wherever it is you are going. Yeah. So it's really a cute little town over there.
Gretna is cute. Old Gretna is very cute. And Algiers Point is very cute. Gwen. That's my shout out. Gwen is one of my friends. She lives in Algiers Point.
Algiers Point is a really that's somewhere I enjoy. See ferry to the box. That's right. Take the ferry, and that's a safe way to get in and out of the parade.
Mhm.
That almost sounds like a really great plan. Like it just ferrying across.
Negate the car issues.
Yeah, that's the worst. I'm going to a thing tomorrow night, and the whole who goes first, because I have to be there at a different time and my husband has to be there. Do I Uber? Does he Uber? Who gets the car? We don't want 2 cars. Are we going to be able to park? That whole, it's not even parade time yet. We're not even there.
It's just, for people who don't live here, I don't understand, like the whole month of like January and half of February, it's just dedicated to planning your commute.
It really is. Yeah. Whether you're going to a parade or not, sometimes you're just going to the bank or to work or something, and you have to like plan ahead when you can do that. So it's coming up fast. And although there's all these logistical things, everyone, it's totally worth it. #worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. And y'all should all come and visit.
I even liked when I lived in the box. I still liked it.
Yeah, I mean, you just learn this is the new thing you do for these like 2-3 weeks, and that's it. Like this is you figure out the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're all sort of in it together, like everyone gets it.
It's community. It's
right. Exactly. Well, Marie, we made it. We did it. We did the whole thing. I am going to put a link here in the comments to your book. Everyone, if you order it through this link, you will definitely get a signed copy. We can mail it to you anywhere. If we mail it, those will also be signed. So you can use that link. And cover one more time, everyone. It's beautiful. Also, kudos to the cover. I don't know. It's in a lot of ways simple, but the black background just makes that pop out, and people will pick this book up. This is a good book cover, everyone.
Thank you. All credit to Nicole Lecht. She was my designer, and she just brought my vision to life.
Yeah, well, it works. We faced it out, and people pick it up. They stop and look at it when they walk by. And that is a good cover. So 2 thumbs up to her.
Thank you.
So yes, thank you for joining me, and everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for all of your comments and your questions. Love it so much. Y'all have a good night.
Yes.
Bye.